buckle up. It's time to take the trip, buckle up.
You're listening to the Take the Trip podcast, where you'll find real talk and zero filter. I'm your host, Kendra Fogarty, and today I am here with Vern and Katie of Nomad Nesters, who prove that the road isn't just a place you go, it's a reason to actually live the life you keep talking about. So y'all are an absolute inspiration as OGs with 12 total years of full-time RV living, right?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. Wow. So impressive. Definitely want to start with the origin story. I know there was something about Vern being away on a business trip that absolutely blew my mind, and I loved it. So you have to tell us what went down when Vern was away on business.
I guess
Let me give a pre-story to that really quick. I wanted to RV for a really, really long time. Like, it was almost like an obsession. An RV would drive by and I'd be like, and my kids are like, we know there's an RV on the road next to us. So we did take this like epic road trip, bought a pop-up, and we took off for 2 weeks on this little camping trip, me and the kids.
It started out with her saying, while you're working, I'm just going to take the kids down to Galveston and we're going to enjoy the beach. I said, well, that's cool. Go enjoy the beach.
It was so much fun that we ended up in Seattle like 5 months later.
They just didn't come home. They literally left me at home and just kept cruising because they just were enjoying the adventure. And I would have to call and figure out where my family was. I'm like, where are you guys?
He's a good sport. And so it was so much fun that at that point, I kind of knew that it's what I wanted. And I think at that point, Vern missed us so much that he flew up to Seattle and he's like, okay, we can RV. And so then he went on a business trip.
Yes, it was a yes, we can RV. But a lot of logistics had to be figured out, especially back then. Like, families didn't RV full time. It was an anomaly, and jobs weren't remote back then.
We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah, it was. There were so many things you had to figure out, and so my answer was yes. But let's figure these things out.
Actually, his answer was yes, but he forgot to add the "but let's figure it out." He just said
I just
yes.
assumed that it made sense, and so I had to go away on a business trip, and it was like a 3 or 4 day trip. It wasn't even a crazy long trip. And I come home, and as I pull up to the front of my house, I noticed, and we knew our neighbors really well, but there were neighbors I knew walking out with my couch, and I'm like, that's weird. What are you doing? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, your wife said you guys are selling everything to get on the road. I'm like, what? And I walked into my house and it was empty. Had to sit in lawn chairs in our living room while we finished the plans for traveling. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh, that is just absolutely epic. Oh my gosh. So I'm curious, what was the timeline between that conversation, like, yes, we can RV, to when the couch was then removed from the home?
It probably took us 2 or 3 weeks to get home. So maybe like 6 weeks.
It was
maybe?
about a month and a half.
A month and a half. Oh,
because I flew back, and then they had to finish their camping trip all the way from Washington back to Texas. So in their pop-up, in a minivan with 4 kids and just my wife. It was crazy.
So fun.
So,
oh my gosh, Katie, that is such serious dedication. I'm in awe. Sometimes it's hard. Like, I don't have 4 kids, but I imagine taking 4 kids to the grocery store is difficult. Taking 4 kids to the playground is hard. So taking 4 kids on these like travels all over, that's just absolutely amazing.
Your stories of your door wouldn't even stay shut. And it was such an old pop-up.
It was like, this was, a long time ago. So this was 20 years ago. And I think our pop-up was like in 1974 or something. It was like,
so she would call, I had to bungee cord the door shut so it doesn't swing open in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Was so fun.
So yes, it happened very fast.
I do have to say, like, my son-in-laws really give me a little bit of a hard time because I have one daughter who's like me, and he's like, okay. And then my and her husband's always like, okay, we'll do whatever. My other son-in-law is like, we're very careful with, if I tell my wife yes, we have deadlines, because Vern's personality, he's so easygoing.
Yeah.
And if I knew it would have broken him, I wouldn't have done it. And so that's where it's,
you knew
like,
how far to push.
I knew how far to push. So it's not like,
I
didn't push him off the edge. I just like held him with like a rope. Like, see, this is fun kind of thing.
I solidly admire all of Katie's passions. And I know that they lead to great things. And so I'm like, okay, if you can figure it out, I guess we're going to do it. So we did.
Oh my gosh. I just love that. So what was going through your head, Vern, though, when you came back and then you're like, okay, so this is happening, like everything's going, like walk us through that.
You know what? I think it is how most of our marriage has been,
You
where
were
she
kind of
comes
mad.
up there's nothing I could do about it. It's like, okay, our stuff's gone. So that hurdle is overcome. So I guess we start looking for an RV. And, but the same thing happened with our kids with homeschooling. I was solidly against that. And we homeschooled our kids, and it turned out to be the most amazing thing. And so, yeah, so we started the research and started looking for RVs, and there was nowhere near the kind of information you have nowadays on RVs where you can compare them. And so we just found this one we thought we liked, and we're in Texas, and this guy's in California, and we called him up, and we talked about 15, 20 minutes on the phone and gave us some information on it. And then we said, okay, if that is what it is, we'll take it. He's like, well, do you want to see it? I'm like, well, I said, I'm just going to be honest. I don't know the first thing about RVs. If I come there to say I'm seeing it, I'm just faking it. So I might as well just tell you we'll take it now.
I thought we were realistic about it. It was like, okay, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know if we're going to like it. We didn't have smartphones back then. It was hard to work. And in fairness to Vern, over these several years, we started a business that we knew that eventually we could work remote. It wasn't remote back then, but trying to figure it out. And so we did get something that was really, really cheap, which means it was really, really junky, just because we didn't want to commit to this big thing without knowing if it worked.
Right.
And so it was good because it got us in. It gave us a little bit of a taste without feeling like we were breaking the bank, which was really important, I think.
Yeah, it was.
So.
It worked out perfect. So it was good.
Okay, so that's a smart way to go about it. So the RV, it was a good decision, even though you had no idea what to even look for. Like, there's probably not even like RV techs to like, do like an inspection back then. You were probably just like, whatever. So did it have any issues?
Everything, yes.
Everything.
And the red flag should have been when you get this RV from the guy and he explains, I used to do a lot of electrical work, so I rewired a whole bunch of things in here. And he had new switches for everything. I don't think we ever got the generator to work on there because I couldn't figure out what he did to rewire it. So the generator never worked. There were horror stories from the seconds after we picked it up and locking down, like, that little cord that you hook up when you hook your fifth wheel up or a travel trailer. That's an emergency brake thing. Those work. And if you don't hook them up right, it activates them. And I activated that thing within 5 houses, like 1 block from his house. And I'm pulling the trailer, skidding the tires down the road.
The guy's like, I'm not giving your money back. And we're like, can you just help us figure out how to get out of here?
We pull into Louisiana, like one of our first states outside of Texas.
We're going into New Orleans.
Yeah. And it's a little dark. It's like,
really dark.
Just about to sunset. And I look out the side mirror of the truck and I see things flying down the road. I'm like, what is that? And then I could tell that the whole side of our RV had peeled back because it was the aluminum siding and the insulation was blowing out down the freeway. And I was like, whoa. So I learned right then how to, repair an RV.
Handy. He's really handy. He can fix anything, which is awesome.
It was crazy. So yes.
That was fun though.
Oh my goodness.
It was great.
Wow. So I imagine a lot of people would have just been like, I don't think this is the right move here after all that. But you guys, you're dedicated. Maybe Katie was not allowing the option to stop at that point. How long were you in that RV?
Too long.
I think we made
3 years.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 years.
And then we ended up, Heartland Cyclone came out with like the first, that was like a toy hauler kind of. And then the Cyclone 3950 came out and it was like, you would have thought we moved into the biggest, fanciest mansion in the whole world. It was awesome.
It was a beast.
It was
a
awesome.
huge RV. And so that one was great. It was way too heavy for my truck. I learned much later that
salesman will tell you anything.
Yeah, the salesman's like, you got a great truck. It'll pull it. And then we did the math and I'm like, whoa, I am so overweight with this thing. So you learn,
And that's one thing that hasn't changed. Salesmen always saying that your truck is going to do just fine.
We want to spend more. Yeah,
it might
pull it, but it's not going to stop it.
Right. Okay, so take us back in time. Time travel us to, this is about 2004-ish, right? It sounds like you were very good at the MacGyver stuff, which is impressive. No YouTube, right? So you can't even look up how to fix any of this stuff. So you just had to figure it all out on your own. Yeah, that's That's amazing. Were you handy before this adventure, or did you just have to become handy?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Little bit.
maybe.
Okay.
We were a little bit of an anomaly at RV parks back then. Our kids were. And so when we would get out, people would just be like, oh, are you here for the weekend or whatever? And I think
Yeah.
that a lot of like the old timers really either took pity or just took us under their wing. But that,
Yeah.
people in this community, we had so many things break and
Yeah.
so many things we didn't know. And you could be outside just tinkering or even just standing by your RV and 5 or 6 people like, do you need some help? Do you need some help? And I think that's how we learned.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's what's fun about the RV community in general, right? Everyone loves to help or to come say hi and just chat, along the fireside, but there always was someone willing to help. I think we made it the first maybe year before I realized that my trailer brakes weren't even working on the trailer.
Yeah.
And someone was explaining something to me. I'm like, I don't even know what that does. And then they got into my truck and they're like, no, you need to fix this like right now. So
Oh, dear Lord.
it's just crazy. The things you learn.
Everyone
Oh my
is
goodness.
helpful.
Yeah, it is. It's so true, though, that everyone wants to help. Whenever we have like an issue with the truck, I'm always like, go pop the hood. There'll be 5 dudes here in like 10 minutes. That's like the universal sign. Help me. Winter makes everyday things harder. Dead batteries, snowed in driveways, messy cars, and getting stuck when you least expect it. If you're anything like me, it's also always when you're already running late. That's why this episode is brought to you in part by eTrailer, because winter has a way of keeping us on our toes. Even when we try to snowbird, it always seems to find us somewhere, at least for a few days. So whether you're gearing up for winter or you're dealing with it as it comes, eTrailer helps keep you on the road with gear like tire chains, battery chargers, floor mats, and recovery equipment you can trust. The kind of gear you're glad you planned for when conditions change fast. Head over to eTrailer.com or click the link in the notes to find winter gear that fits your vehicle and handles whatever the season throws at you, so you can spend less time stressing about freezing and more time drinking hot toddies or skiing or whatever it is that brings you joy when that snow is falling. So, were there any other families that were full-timing? How was the community and how did you meet them? Like, what did that look like?
It was really
was a
different,
blast.
but it was amazing. We met 2 families online. So the Gozas, Kimberly and Dennis, you should check them out. They used to be called the Activated Storytellers.
They were amazing.
They were on the road living in a station wagon or a little trailer or whatever for all the years. And then we met the Bare Naked family, some really good friends of ours who they actually had kids our age. We didn't meet them for quite a while, but we emailed and things.
Yeah.
And the second winter we were on, Kimberly Goza had something called Families on the Road. It was the first group before
Organizing
full-time
site, yeah.
families. And our very first, it was really fun,
Rally.
our very first rally.
It was
Whew.
wild.
And there were about 17 families that got together.
And that was pretty much all of them, I think.
Yeah, it was a
but we
really
all
big deal.
got together. The kids got to hang out. I mean, that was the thing. And this is where it would be so different, I think, now traveling with kids, because we wouldn't mind traveling 1 or 2 states out of our way to
for
meet
birthday
up
parties
for parties
or-
with our kids, because that's you go where the kids are. Now the kids are everywhere, and so you can just meet up with them as you go. But yeah, it was really awesome to see so
It
many
was.
people and so many and it's the same, but so many different lifestyles. Like so many people are on the road for so many different reasons.
Back then, yeah.
And it was just a
Yeah.
blast putting all of us together. And
We had some met some. Yeah, that first rally, Vern's like, we're out of here. We are not doing this. But we met our
awesome.
dearest friends who had twins that were our youngest son's age that we would travel with constantly. But yeah, that first rally was quite an eye opener.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We had some real interesting experiences.
Yes,
We
did.
had our very first public, can I say this?
I don't know.
Breast milk brownies. We had I don't do potlucks anymore because of it, but one of the families brought brownies and a lot of the families had school buses, which is great. And the 5-gallon buckets for toilets, that was probably the main. But one family, we found out later that she brought brownies and everyone's like, they're so good. And she's like, yeah, I'm our main food source for our family. And I made the brownies with breast milk. We were like, yep, nope, we're never doing that.
I just feel like that disclaimer should have been present on the food, personally.
Oh my gosh, that is mind blowing.
Yes.
That's definitely a story I've never heard before. So that is fascinating.
Vern has a really good saying, your
Your
biggest mistakes, your
crazy
worst
decisions or bad
mistakes
decisions make the best
make the
stories
best
later.
stories.
Yeah.
And
So
our
true.
kids have so many fun stories. Like at the moment, we were a little bit horrified at that. And now,
Mhm.
we can't help but sit back and laugh about
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. That is 100% true. Epic story. Oh, that is so funny. And I can just like picture it. I just have like this very clear image in my head. And like and just the outfits everyone are wearing. I know it was like 2004, but for some reason I am picturing it like in the 70s.
In the
Oh,
And
70s.
it
like,
was.
That's funny.
yeah,
We're so alike.
We
Yes.
yeah.
were the boring, like we were the most normal, boring people that could have,
Yeah.
there were a few of us that were just plain Jane and
Some really odd.
amazing people
Yeah.
and wild stories and wild jobs and just so
It
fun,
really
so fun.
it's why we are still on the road because it was just too much fun to give up.
It
So
was.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so there were some families, and it was probably more of like the unicorn you see in the wild, where you're like, "Oh my gosh, you two, instant best friends," which is still kind of like that, but it's a little different now, right? Because there are just so many more families. Oh, that's so cool,
We
though.
went to my daughter, our second oldest, when we told them we were RVing, they were like, we were neighbors with my daughter's family for about 5 years, and they got on the road with us, and they traveled
yeah,
for 2 years in their
alongside us.
RV. And our very first winter at Thousand Trails Orlando, TTO,
Oh,
we
that was
went to
wild.
the Halloween party, and there were so many kids, and my daughter's kids had a blast, and my daughter was like, it's
Yeah,
completely different.
it
It's
is so
incredibly
different.
amazing.
Yeah,
So
to
Yeah.
go from our family, maybe another family or two in the park
if
with
you're
kids,
lucky, yeah.
but to
Mm.
what, 300-400 kids were at that Halloween
Yeah,
party? That was
it's
just
amazing.
wild.
So fun. So before you hit the road too, I am curious. When you told your family and friends back home, like, did they totally think you had lost your mind? Because at this point, like, no one else is really doing this. So what were people thinking? Like, did anyone share their thoughts with you, or what was going on with that?
Oh yeah, my parents were really worried that I was messing up life. So they're like, "This is not what you should be doing." And they still, I mean, they learned to accept it because it was going to happen no matter what. My dad even helped do some remodeling in our first RV.
Nice.
And then when we decided the first time to go to Mexico, my mom just about lost it. "You will not take my grandkids to Mexico." And like, we're gonna do it. But it was just so much fun. They eventually traveled out many times and saw us on the road at different destinations and
Nice.
so it was good.
Yeah. All in all, like we homeschooled all of our kids their whole life. Our youngest son did go to like 11th and 12th grade. And so I think at that point they just all kind of thought we lost our marbles, whatever is what they would say, like even just
Mhm.
homeschooling and things. And so I think at that point they were just like, all right, they're just gonna do whatever.
Yeah.
I think the thing that our parents have always said, they never really agreed with like homeschooling at first or traveling. And they would always just say, I think it's the best thing. Your kids are amazing. And now as they're
Yeah.
adults, it's the constant, wow, you guys did it right. Like, look how incredible your kids are. And so I think, it's kind of like the proof is in the pudding. Like once they saw how good the kids were
Yeah.
doing, they
I
could
think
not
people
support us.
that have
Mm.
hung around to either maintain a family relationship with us or a friendship relationship have just learned you have to accept us because
Yeah.
we're not going to do things the right way or the way you think is right. We're going to do them our way. They're going to be weird every time and they're going to turn out to be an amazing story one way or the other when we're done.
Heck yeah, I love that. And I love that you're also such a success story, both with raising your children, who are just incredible and have families of their own now, but also success stories as far as business is related and everything too. So you were able to show like, hey, that may have been a little counterculture. That wasn't what society was telling us what we should do. But we didn't mess it all up. We just chose to go a different path. So I just love how it's all played out for you guys. I do want to circle back to the homeschooling thing too, because I think that's just so important because I feel like that's kind of a little bit of a hiccup or a catch for a lot of families trying to make this decision where you feel like there's such stigma with homeschooling where you worry like, am I going to mess my kids up? Are they going to be prepared for careers? Are they going to be socialized? And there's so many different things. And I remember thinking that I thought homeschooling was very, very strange and that I would never do it. And I worked in public education and I was like really into public education until I was in it too long and I saw the other side of it. And then all of a sudden I was very not into public education.
Right.
But it's just so relatable because I think it's something that probably stops a lot of families who are curious about RVing from doing it because they are hung up on that fact that like kids have to be in school. That's the only way to get a good education. I imagine there was also not a lot of support for a curriculum at that time. So you probably just had to create all your own things. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah, what we ended up doing. I mean, our first year of homeschooling, Vern was like really against it, and we
Yes.
lived in Fort Lauderdale at the time, and I said, you know what, kindergarten isn't mandatory. Let's just try it. So our first year, we did I'm the teacher, you're the principal, and we had the
Yeah.
ABCs on the wall. And then we
Yeah.
quickly realized that all of our kids had so many different strengths, different weaknesses. And I think that's where, when we did dream and we did talk, like, yes, threw on the timeline for RVing, but the RVing was the plan eventually for us,
Yeah.
is that we wanted our kids to have their passions. And so we used, honestly, like what we called road schooling as like kind of the means for that. So if
Yeah.
our kids were wanting, one of our kids wanted to surf. So like, if you want to surf, you have to learn about weather and the moon and tides. One of our kids wanted to be a clothing designer. And so they learned about fabric and making dog clothes and whatever
Yeah.
that passion was. And I think that's what was so cool about the experiences on Monday nights. Every Monday night, our kids would have a presentation around the fire or inside, and they could pick one thing that week that they wanted to study and that they were really passionate about. And so, like, one of our kids were really into the Seminole War. We were in Florida and learned about trading shells, and that made our son the next time want to learn about currency and money. And by finding something you're passionate about and then sharing that with the family once a week, I think it just taught our kids that you can do what you're interested in and you can find passion. And I do believe that about homeschooling is that it works really well for a lot of kids, and for some kids it doesn't. And I think it just gave us as parents the flexibility to really educate
Yeah.
each one individually, which I think was the best thing we could have done.
I like to think most people go through these progressions where if you do start homeschooling, you do exactly what Katie just said. We bring it home. We bring the entire institution of school into our house, do this much on this subject, this much on this subject. And then you do that. And eventually, if you stick with it, you realize that, your kids can learn even more if you can follow what they're passionate about. When you can invest the time as a parent you need to figure out what motivates your kids, and you can give them the confidence that they can learn whatever they want and they can do it on their own because you've taught them how to think and how to study for something. It was fabulous. I mean, when we went across the Lewis and Clark Trail, we studied that backwards from its origins and let them study that whole thing. And it was just awesome watching what they grasped onto and how they absorbed that information, and listening to them talk about it now. It's awesome. I just love it.
Okay, that was just such great information and insights about how to make homeschooling work for your family and how to really enrich their education and allow them to pursue those passions. Because a lot of times in schools too, you really focus on a child's weakness. You're trying to like bring them up, and you're not giving them the opportunity to explore their strengths, which then I think in turn does not allow children to foster like a love of learning. And then they just kind of shut down because they're like, why am I always doing things that are so hard for me and they're like not natural for me, and like this isn't going well because it's like just the only focus. So I think that was, you just so beautifully put. So I do wonder too, how did the kids feel about the lifestyle? Like, what if I was interviewing them, what do you think they would say? I don't know if our kids would ever hear this, but if they do, just kind of jokingly, our second oldest, she was at that teenager age where towards the end, she's like, you know what? I don't like this. The only concept of school that she had was kind of the Hannah Montana was really popular then. I want to be a cheerleader and all the things. And we questioned ourselves a couple times, like, are we doing the right thing? And she's our sweet daughter that took her kids on the road and homeschooled them for 2 years and was like, this is the most amazing life. So I think your kids, they're like adults. They don't know any different. Sometimes you want what you don't have. For some reason, that yellow school bus is so intriguing. Or that playground with all the, you're like, oh, heaven forbid if your campground's by school, that playground seems so huge. And so there were times where they would all be like,
oh, maybe I want to go to school. And I think especially in the teenage years, that was a little bit harder.
Yeah.
It's so fun to sit back and listen to them talk and tell
Yeah.
stories. And the in-laws, all of our kids are married. They have kids. Our youngest and his wife don't have any kids yet, but they all sit back and they tell these stories. And it's so fun because the in-laws are like, oh my gosh, you guys. And our kids will always say, I was telling people about my childhood. They didn't believe me, or no one thought I did this. And so
Yeah.
they do themselves think it's the best thing we could have done. I think our biggest parenting fear was we didn't want our kids to think life was unrealistic. We didn't want them to feel like life was a vacation. That was, because when we were at
Mhm.
TTO for 3 months, we were at Disney, 5 days a week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And listening to them talk, they loved it. And I think the best part is that they talk about is they were best friends with each other
Right.
because they kind of had to be. And they all say that is one thing they would never change because they all just are so incredibly close.
I do think that
Mm.
it's probably stages in their life. At points, they were like, why are we doing this? I have to cram back in that truck again with my brothers and sisters. I don't want to do that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then in reflection, they're like, that was absolutely amazing. I think there'll even be more reflection differently as their kids get older and they're in situations where they're providing experiences for their kids. It's fun to watch those stages happen. And like Katie was saying, my biggest thing was I grew up in the same house my entire life in a small little town and never going out to eat once a month was a huge thing for us. And all of a sudden I'm in a new state almost every month instead. I was like, we're going to spoil our kids. I'm like, I don't want them to think that that's normal. So we started a program for our kids. We called it Fueling Up on Friends, but we made it to where they would write down in a spreadsheet how much money we spent at every gas stop getting from point A to point B. And when we got there, if it was $500 that we spent getting in gas to get there, they had to do 500 minutes of service in that town. They had to find the place on their own. They had to make, and it was really interesting because it was hard to find places that would let kids volunteer. And they had to line it all up and we'd go let them volunteer and put that time in. And it got them to be able to give to a community and not even theirs, but just the one they were in. And honestly, I'd say a great majority of their stories come from that activity that we did. So it was awesome.
Gosh, that is an amazing idea. I absolutely am obsessed with that. I need to figure out how I can implement it. That's genius. I agree that one of the biggest challenges we're facing right now is like the gratitude piece, and my kids not really understanding that this is not really typical and they're not really able to access gratitude at this time. They don't have another reference point. They're so little. And like, for example, we've spent the last 3 winters in Florida. So like we've been at the beach quite a bit. And like by the end of last year, we would be like, we're going to the beach today. And they'd be like, I don't want to go to the beach. And I'd be like, I literally never went to Florida until I was like 25. You don't
Right.
understand. So then
Yeah.
this year, we whatever, cross the country and stuff. We're in California and we're like, okay, like it's a beach day. And they're like, oh, okay, good. They're like, yeah, we're ready for one. You took us too much last year, but now we're ready for the beach again. And then I'm like, I am so sorry that I took you to the beach too often.
Too much fun.
Unbelievable. So just things
Yes.
like that. So I love that idea because that's really something
Yes.
that we've been struggling with and trying to brainstorm how we can help them understand and really have more appreciation for this lifestyle. So I think that's just a beautiful
It really
idea.
was
Thank
me.
you
I
for
think
sharing that.
there was a couple of points that we really enjoyed. We almost always would search out soup kitchens because they were most common to allow kids to help. And I love telling the story. I think it was Pennsylvania, Lancaster, but we were going to a soup kitchen and it was so fun because the director of the soup kitchen and our kids were, 7, 9, 11, and 13ish around there. And the director pulled all the volunteers aside and he said, listen, we're about to bring in this long line of homeless people who for the rest of the day might not even be treated as human. No one will even look at them to say they exist. He goes, so while they're here, they're the most important person to you. And instead of letting them go through a line like a cafeteria style, he goes, you're going to seat them at a table. You're going to ask them what they want to drink and you're going to bring food to them and you're going to continue to serve them until they're full. And I still remember Connor, our youngest, this one gentleman that he was serving. He had kind of a heavy accent, but he was so fun. And he's like, you've served me enough. You come eat by me and let's talk. And so Connor sat down and he just loves telling the story of getting to converse with this gentleman and getting to hear his life story. And he was heard.
Was it? He told them though, if you're going to sit by me, you
Oh, yeah.
have to
Eat
eat.
your
Was it?
vegetables.
cabbage or Brussels sprouts he
It
made.
was one of those two, but
My son actually ate either cabbage or Brussels sprouts because this man asked him to, and I was
yeah,
like, "Wow, I'm like he learned so much about respect and kindness and
yes.
love." It was really
And then that
powerful.
carried on because when we went to the next state, we were at a soup kitchen again, and I saw my kids go up and talk to the director, and I was like, "Well, that's nice that they're saying hello." Well, they weren't. They were telling the director about how impactful it was at this other one that we did, and they changed their soup kitchen that day. They said, "You know what? Let's do that."
Let's serve
And
our
so
people.
they were able to be able to help the people in that one, but go change the way other people receive that as well. You know, it was awesome. Christmas time is another big one where we're not overloading kids with gifts because we have nowhere to put it. So instead of giving gifts that year, Katie found transition home, where it's people that had just recently lost a job, couldn't afford to be anywhere, and they had these rooms for them. And so all these families with kids were in this unknown place, and it's Christmas time, and they definitely can't afford Christmas. So the group they're with was going to have some gifts donated to them. And that's nice. But what we realize is those kids still want to give, just like our kids got to give at places. So Katie set up a Christmas workshop for them. And I think we had like 15 different activities. They could make a
There were about
chessboard or a
70 kids.
picture frame, or
Just portable things
yeah,
that
it's
they could
easy
take.
things to make. And so the kids got to come in and make a present for mom or dad or their sibling and be able to give on Christmas instead of just get donations from people. And so it gave them some dignity back. It gave them some
Well,
pride. It was just, oh, it was so beautiful to watch it. And our kids got to do that. So
Oh my gosh, that made me tear up, very close to crying the first time that's happened on the podcast. So thank you for bringing the heartfelt stories to the show. That's just so sweet. And those are amazing ideas. And just, I imagine that just had such an impact on your kids' lives and for those lives that they touched too. So that's just amazing. Okay. So I do want to hear a little more too about your daughter. So I know you had lived together in the same neighborhood, and then you kind of went to her and you were like, oh, we're going to travel again. Right. And then she was like, we're going to travel too. And that was like a surprise, right? Like you didn't discuss it first, but you had both reached that same conclusion. Like walk us through what happened with that.
We've always told our kids, like, it was really hard to get off the road, to be honest. And our kids mourned it for a long time and we mourned it. But then we sold our big, like our forever home that Vern had built me this home for Christmas as a surprise.
yep.
It was like the best Christmas present. And it was like just the stream house. And I was like, this is great, but our closest grandchild is like 30 minutes away. So we built houses by each other.
Right beside each other.
And we've always said, we want to go, we want to go. And this was after about 5 years of them living next to us, 4 years.
Yeah.
And we're like, guys, we're going to have to put a fence between the yard because mom and dad are going to like run our house and we're going to leave. And my son-in-law is amazing. Like,
We've been real lucky with son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws,
yes,
so it's
just
awesome.
a gem. But, he grew up like Vern in the same house and all the things. And our son-in-laws have always kind of joked and been like, oh, you guys, that's a great childhood, but never happening with our kids, it was the next morning or 2 days later.
It was within the week.
That night, my daughter and him were up all night long looking at RVs. And they're like, and we weren't going to leave as quick as we planned, but our accountant called like on December 29th and was like, hey guys, you need to buy a vehicle or something or pay this much in taxes. So like within 2 days, we bought an RV. So our kids are like, whoa, mom, dad, what are you doing? And it took them a couple days and they were like, we're coming with you. And it was
a blast.
It was the best thing that's ever happened in my life to have my grandkids.
Oh,
It was great. It was heartbreaking when they stopped.
I know.
I kind of lost my brains for like 3 days. I just cried and cried after they drove away.
But it's just fun because, again, you're influencing another generation of kids. And our grandkids would come over to our campsite and I'd be on the griddle cooking up breakfast and eggs, and they would just come over, let us help you cook. And so, yeah, it was a blast. We loved it.
Okay, that's just incredible. So why did you get off the road the first time? Is that just because your kids were ready to try a different lifestyle? They were kind of driving that, or
It was sort of that. I think the older ones were.
The oldest one was ready to move out and do her thing. And then there was change in one of the businesses that we have.
Yeah.
There was changes that affected our job. It was kind of like, okay, like there's an issue with parents on the road where it's like, okay, you're going to go to college away from me. I don't know if you follow the Mali Mishes. You should check them out. It's MALI Mish. they just dropped their daughter off at college and they were on the road back when we were. And it's just been heartbreaking to watch them. Like it's this
Go through that
transition.
change. Yeah.
And so we were kind of like, boy, maybe we need to kind of settle down and let our kids. Our daughter ended up moving to Ukraine or Lithuania that time for about 6 months. We just realized that, it was that point where they were going to start moving out and start like dating and maybe like getting ready for their own families. And we just felt like it was important that we had a home base for them.
But it
So
was
sense.
with because Katie really is a gypsy, and so it's hard to keep her in a house that doesn't have wheels or at least moves. And I laughed because at one point after we got off the road, she immediately was just getting the wanderlust, like let's get back out somewhere. And so we talked to the kids about this a little bit, and it was the boys that were home because they're the younger ones, and we're like, we're gonna buy a very tiny RV and we're gonna ship it to Europe and then we'll go travel Europe. It was like this huge revolt in our house. The boys like, no, we're settled down. We want to play sports. And we're like,
You
guys,
don't want to go to
they said
Europe?
we've already RV'd. I'm like, you have not RV'd Europe. We'd already bought the RV. We had to turn right around and sell it. We're like,
They
all
wanted
right,
to play
fine.
football. They wanted to do Boy Scouts. You're always you're the new kid at church every week or whatever. And they started the youngest. And so they just really,
They never had the other
they never had
side.
the other side. And so it was kind of important for
Yeah.
us to just say, okay, if that's what you want, then we'll stay.
Yeah.
So
I
So
give
we-
you so much credit for giving up on that dream and not doing that and letting your kids have the all-American high school thing. So that's amazing. I think that would be really tricky to walk away from that idea. Do you think that you'll do that now as empty nesters?
well,
Possibly.
we were going to Europe. We actually bought the small RV to go to
At
Europe.
second
And
time,
then
yeah.
when my daughter said we're going to travel, we had the small RV for about a month and it was only 20 feet, but it was too hard to have our grandkids in playing.
Yeah,
so we
so tiny.
so we bought this instead.
Yeah.
We do have a new adventure we're working on. We're hoping they'll work in a few months.
Ooh,
So
okay. Exciting. We'll have to stay tuned to hear more.
I think we learned like really, really quickly that, we wanted to live a different life. And I guess I just be really transparent and share. We haven't really been really transparent, but I have some health issues. And we just found out last week that we were told some of the issues I had were actually like 5 to 7 year span out. And so we've had a really hard couple months processing, like that's a really short time. And
Yeah.
we just found out last week that actually it's something else that's causing all of these things. And so I guess it's been
You got a
almost
new
2
lease
weeks.
on life. Yeah.
Like I have this new lease this last week. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to forget my grandkids' names in 5 years. I'm going to be here in 7 years. And
Yeah.
so the last like 2 weeks, we have just been like, what do we want to do? What do
Yeah.
we want to do? And we've been so focused our whole life with our kids. Like, what is your bucket list? What is your dream? And I think for us, this experience that we've had we've been in Utah for a few months just doing medical things. And I think over this little bit, we haven't really, I didn't even tell you we were going to talk about this. It's
No,
been hardcore, Vern.
it's our life.
It's been an emotional roller coaster
Yeah.
the last month and a half. And it's been really cool to realize that like we don't have a new lease on life, but we feel like we do. So
Yeah.
now we're like, we are going to live the best dang life that we possibly can.
And I think that's really so important because you don't need to have a life altering illness to decide I need to go enjoy life. I think you should have a plan in place to have an adventure in your life that is going to be an amazing story later for any reason. And it doesn't have to be in an RV, but go find it. Go do something that is so awesome that people are just inspired listening to you. And
Yeah.
there's nothing to stop anyone from that.
I mean, if that's decorating a home and building your dream
Yeah,
home,
do
or if
it.
that's like having a dream job, or if that's
Yeah.
having a farm, like I think that's the thing is we've watched so many of our friends, especially at our age, get divorced or just I think that's the hardest thing when you live in the RV bubble for me is when I call back home and talk to friends or family and when they're doing the same thing every day, every time, and that's okay if you're happy. But when we talk to the friends that are doing the same thing every day
Yeah.
and they're not happy, it's actually, I feel like we all have that wake up bubble. When you're doing something you love and you hear people aren't, you're like, wow,
Right.
like life is good, So
I always try to caution people, watch out for your find what you do in a comfort zone and stop and get out of it. It just however little or big that step has to be, step
Mhm.
outside your comfort zone and go see what that feels like because it's like renewing to be able to realize, oh, I can do something other than go to work, to come back, to pay the bills, to sleep in a bed, to go to work, to come back. It's like, you can do that, but step out of that comfort zone and go do something fun every once in a while and challenge yourself. So
Yeah. Okay. There were so many good points in there, so much to unpack. But first, Katie, so glad to hear that you got some good news about your health. That had to have been just unbelievably stressful and horrible. But I guess if there's any silver lining, it's just that perspective that you were able to gain. But it's such a good point. Like, you don't need to necessarily go through that to live, what's that one song? Like, live like you're dying or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, just like embrace every day. Actually was kind of relatable because the last year before we decided to do this, I was having a lot of migraines where I was losing my vision and I couldn't like see like really bad, like the type where I just have to like be in bed for several days. And I had an MRI and the doctor had told me no news is good news. So if you hear from me, like that's not good, right? So it's a Friday afternoon. I get a voicemail. I'm at work and then I get it when I'm home and she leaves a message and she says, "Hey, I'm just calling to follow up on your treatment plans." And then I have the weekend then because I can't talk to her to Monday I'm basically at this point, I'm planning my funeral, right? Like I am just full panicking and I was just terrified. And I really felt though, like, I'm like, this is something serious. I'm thinking the worst. Like I was having such serious brain, like headache problems. And then on Monday she calls out and she's like, "No, it's all good." And I'm like, you can't do that.
That's right. That is not cool.
Yeah, I'm like, holy shit. But then it was kind of a similar thing because then, my husband, he'd been doing the same thing. He was trying to be calm about it, but he was freaking out. So then we're like, oh my gosh, like, okay, things are good. Like now, yeah, we need to be more focused. Like tomorrow's not promised and we need to be doing the things that make us feel alive and that we're just really loving now. So it was like an awful thing to go through, but then it was helpful because it helped to, I guess, encourage us to be brave enough to take this leap into this unique lifestyle. So thank you for sharing all of that though. And I'm just so relieved that things are going all right for you.
And I think it's like a good thing to remember too. You can travel. I think the one thing I hear a lot of people, especially in my like health community that I'm in, that are always like, "Why? How are you doing what you're doing?" Or "I can't travel because I have health issues." And the one thing that we've learned is, we've had drug companies fly reps out to teach Vern how to give me IVs so that he can take care of me while we're traveling. Like I have bad days, but I have really good days and I would have really bad days at home where I couldn't go out, but I would have good days at home. And so I think it's that mind switch. And I think sometimes that when you live the life that we've adjusted to, that you just realize that you can do it. And I think if you want something bad enough, it's almost a gift sometimes because you're fighting so hard for it, right? And so I think that's the thing too. I always remind people is don't let your health stop you because there are workarounds. There's ways that you can do things.
It might take some creativity, but there's a way to get some freedom out there and go enjoy. So
you are an absolute inspiration. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all that. So let's play a quick game here before we talk a little bit more about the lifestyle. Live, visit, exile. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 locations. One you need to choose to live at, one you may visit, but the other you have to exile forever, never to return. So the first is Washington, Florida, and Utah. Where are you going to live? Where will you visit? And where are you exiling?
These are our 3 things.
That's a constant conversation too.
We'll have different answers. Live would be Utah because 9 of our grandkids are here. Visit would be Washington and exile that Florida heat.
Okay.
So I would want to be in all of those full time, but I personally would like to live in Washington because it's better on Katie's health and I want her. She's noticeably better when she's at sea level and at moderate temperatures. And that's exactly what Washington offers. So I would do that and visit Utah. And then I would sadly exile Florida, but I would do it sadly. If you would have given me Atlanta, Georgia,
so sadly,
Atlanta, Georgia would have been nixed without a thought. And that's where I'd be.
Okay, all right. Yeah, those are the 3 epic states. Tough to
How about
choose.
you?
Gosh, yeah, that's hard. I think I would live in Florida, actually. I love Florida. And visit Utah and Exile, Washington, just because I know, Katie, you love like the rain.
Yep.
Yeah, the rain is not compatible with me. I'm like a lizard. I require like full sunshine and heat.
Yes.
All right, so the next one. Crater Lake, Olympic, and Rocky Mountain National Park.
Live in Olympic.
I
I know you. And honestly, it was which part of which national park was the last one?
Rocky Mountain.
Probably visit there in Exile Crater Lake, but that's
Exile
just
Crater.
because of the amount of time that I've been to Crater Lake hasn't been enough for me to grow fond of it yet. So
Okay.
I
All
would
right.
live in the Olympic, and I would excel Rocky Mountain, even though I love it, only because we have a grandchild that lives by Crater Lake. So
Okay. All right. Those are tough ones, right? Let's be honest. Every RVer has had at least one what the flush moment, the kind where you open the bathroom door and instantly start questioning your life choices. That's why we use Camp Champ products now. Their RV odor abate doesn't mask smells with fake fragrance. It eliminates odors at the source by regulating your holding tank's pH to promote natural enzyme activity. So everything in your tank's continuously breaking down while you're camping, even in the summer. That means instant and lasting odor elimination, less calcium buildup, and better overall tank function. It's environmentally safe, compliant in all 50 states, and completely free from harsh chemicals or residual fragrances. Use the code TAKETHETRIP for 25% off and keep your RV smelling like adventure, not regret. Okay, so you were on a reality show on TLC, is that right? Can you tell us more about that?
yeah,
another crazy story, I tell you. I mean, we were chosen for a new series of families doing different and fun things they want, and so they had camera crews follow us around. We called them our Discover card because we could get in places we couldn't without them. Like when we
awesome.
went to, was it Williamsburg? Where were we at? Jamestown?
I got to spin. I'm a wool spinner. I got to spin on Martha
Washington's.
Washington's spinning wheel.
Yes,
Whoa.
awesome.
Amazing.
It was the
Mhm.
entire place was closed down, the historic, touristy things, because it was too close to winter still. But TLC had them open it up and bring people in to give us private tours of it. So that was really cool. They would just follow us around and try to record life on the road with kids. And it was a really interesting experience. And because, RVs are small, and when they're trying to film, and we spent a lot of time on the East Coast in Florida where it was hot, and they're like, we can't have the AC running because it'll mess up with the mics. And then you add
Mm.
3 or 4 more people inside of your little living area, and then they say, just pretend we're not here, just be normal. Like, I can't. Every time I need to do something, all of you have to move like a Rubik's Cube to let me get past. So it was a lot of fun. We loved our producer and the film crew. They became best friends. It was fabulous.
It was good. We learned a lot. We started with Discovery Health, and it was just a little kind of mini series at first. And it was about traveling families. And there was like a family that thought they were pirates that lived in tree
So
houses
maybe, and they were in the
and like different families. And it started out really sweet where it was like just, you're a unique family, you're out traveling, and then it switched to TLC. And, it was right at the same time when John and Kate and the Duggars were coming out, and it quickly became, hey, we need a little bit of drama. Can you guys
yeah.
fight? And we don't fight. Like, if we're annoyed with each other, I'm like, you are so stupid. And he's like, you're so dumb. We're like, okay, we're all better. Like,
Yeah,
we
it was
don't
just
really
weird.
fight. And there
Wait,
was
they asked you to fight?
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
mean, there's a lot of interesting things you learn about these reality shows behind the scenes, but yeah, they would ask one of our kids to do something to one of the other kids to cause some drama on TV. Or no,
yeah.
if being on the road with a family that is getting along isn't a good enough story, then you don't need a story.
We quickly
So
realized, it was nice money and it was great benefits and fun, but we quickly realized it wasn't for us, and we weren't for reality TV, meaning we weren't going to fight, we weren't going to have scripted things that were irritating to talk about. Back then there were forums, and my daughter had the dirtiest, nastiest feet one day, and she was outside playing, and she came in and she washed her feet in the sink. I swear there were like 8,000 comments about what terrible parents we
horrible
are
parents
and
we
how
were.
dirty, or our sons were in bathing suits, like with goggles, and we were boondocking. So they were in these big buckets, and I'm washing them, and they're like, look at them putting their kids naked for the whole world to see. And we
Yeah.
quickly realized that it was such a good experience. Like we did the Today Show on our daughter's 16th birthday because it's the day that the show aired, and we were in downtown New York City with our RV, which is a
That
whole
was
another
awesome.
awful story. And we quickly realized there were so many great benefits. But now looking back, like I do know some of the families that had reality shows that agreed to do things that would keep the money in and viewing. And I'm just so grateful.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not saying that we would have like been famous and all the things and taken off because we're pretty boring, but I'm so
No
glad that
way.
we chose very quickly to be like, no, this is
Yeah.
not for us and we're not going to perform.
And that's exactly what it was. Like if
Mhm.
our daily life is a good story and you can make it into one, let's do it. But we're definitely not going to morph to what you need for ratings. But it really had great, fun at times.
It was.
We got so tight with the film crew that they'd say, okay, where are we going next so we can get our hotels and everything booked? And we just said, you know what? We've been a lot of places. Where do you want to go? And they're like, what do you mean? We're like, let's just pick your vacation spot and let's go there. And
And
it
our
was just
kids
so
loved
fun.
it. Our
Yeah.
kids really did
Gosh.
love it. It's kind of weird.
Wow.
Every once in a while, not so much now, but when we lived in a house, we had cable and things. And every once in a while, like old replays, you're like, oh, that's my son on TV. For us, it was such a quick realization that we never wanted our kids also to look back and think, like, do you remember as you're a kid? You're like, oh, I remember that. And you're like, do I remember that? Or is that a picture or a video?
Totally. Yes.
We never wanted our kids to see us acting different or fighting or doing something that
Yeah.
was not in our family's nature. And that was really important for us to
Oh
protect.
my
So
gosh.
it was a great experience.
It
And
was fun.
and
And the money was great.
it served its
It
purpose.
was hard to not have.
And let the kids, enjoy what it was. And the Today Show was awesome. I just loved taking a 44-foot fifth wheel into downtown New York.
God.
Yeah.
Wow. So, wow, that is just has blown my mind. So, absolutely amazing that you were able to prioritize your values and you weren't going to compromise your relationship and how your kids are portrayed and just walk away from that money and that fame, which I'm sure most people probably wouldn't have made that choice. So, I just think that is absolutely amazing. You look at John and Kate, right? You mentioned that they were around the same time and you see what happened to their family. So, I'm sure that they were digging in, trying to make and then that just became probably their reality. So and it's just so sad. So how long were you with the crew? Like how many weeks, months?
18 months.
Maybe
Holy
somewhere.
Yeah.
It
And
was
you
a
have
little
to
over a year.
realize that like one episode was like 6 days. And so,
Wow. And what was the show called?
well, we used to go by, back
Our-
before, we didn't even know there were things called handles. And so we used to go by the Loud family, living our ultimate dream. We're like, let's just be the Loud family. Because, we're not
Yeah.
the Loud family. They were really loud in the RV. But they changed it to, it made us laugh because I felt like we were a beer commercial. It was 6 for the road.
6 for the road.
Yeah, it really sounds like a beer commercial. I'm like, guys,
So-
our name is better. Go with it.
And thankfully, we don't have to worry about YouTube. And every once in a while, our son-in-law is like, you should upload those onto YouTube and things. But we don't have to worry about those things because that wasn't a thing back then. And so we don't have to worry about the repercussions where, like, I feel like now with social media, especially if you do something or if something's going on right now, it ends up on social or it ends up on YouTube
call
or
it out.
something. And so I do think that's a huge blessing for
Yeah.
our family that we were before that era because we wouldn't have control of those things. And so that's something that we all kind of laugh. And our daughter, she's cute. She's like, that was my ugly stage. We're like, no, it wasn't. And so she even hates it. Like when we watch family videos and her husband's watching, I'm like, oh, you silly girl, you're adorable. So,
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's just also so fascinating. So what an experience that must have been. I do have another question. It's inspired by Vern's Black Tank alter ego, right? One of my favorite clips that you guys do.
That was great.
Uh-huh. Have you had any like poop-tastrophes while you've been boondocking or any time? It was
good when the kids were little.
I think most
Yeah.
of those experiences we get to share, luckily vicariously through other campers. Someone whose toilet lever got stuck down because family was visiting that didn't know how to flush an RV toilet.
In the black tank.
And they're all
fell out.
outside and the black tank filled up through the toilet and out the top.
We did get
Not us.
permission.
Ooh.
We were driving through, were we in North Carolina? and we stopped at an RV
Oh,
park.
yeah.
Do you
This
remember
one was
this?
pretty rough.
Oh, we
I
stopped at
feel
an
real
RV
bad
park
about
and we're
this.
like, can we please pay you to dump? And they're like, no, don't worry about it. You can just go to one of our campsites and dump. So we
we
did.
pulled into the
All the
campsite.
kids. We had 3 dogs, 4 kids. Everybody jumps out, you
And
know.
I unscrewed the little sewer cap and hook up and go to, and you pull the lever, everything's running. So I just go check on the kids and see how they're doing. And I come back and there is black tank floating through the campsite. And I'm like,
Everywhere.
what is happening? And what had happened was the thing that I unscrewed was just their water access to shut water on and off. And another 10 feet away was the sewer access.
No.
Oh man. So I filled up just a short little 3 or 4 foot pipe
Our
of raw
stuff
sewage,
was
and the rest of the 40
everywhere.
gallons went all over the campsite.
And we weren't
Oh,
even
so
camping
bad.
there. We felt
Oh,
Yeah.
so bad.
my
We were,
gosh.
"Oh my gosh, we'll pay you gladly." You know,
Yeah,
they're like,
honest
"Just you."
mistake. But yeah, that had to be very uncomfortable to go and confess what had occurred and
Yes, that was
try to
rough.
make it right. Oh my
But others,
goodness.
we've done pretty good. We're very
Okay.
cautious of that
I
aspect.
can
So
tell you, like 100% legit, I have never once in 12 years ever dumped the
tanks.
black tank, and I have had to pull the handle when we were in Washington last year once on
Yep.
the gray tank. And other than that, I've never had to.
I
This
try to,
guy
I
right
try to,
here,
I try to
he's
take care of my
the
princess. So.
MVP.
I love it. Oh my
I need
gosh.
to learn. That is for sure. Like, I know how if there's an emergency, but I've never done it. I've never had to. So
That is, you guys are just relationship goals. I pulled the lever the first time last month because my husband was not feeling well. And I was like, okay, this is all I have to do is just like pull it, right? Is that it? And it wasn't that bad. Like people
Right.
people that aren't RVers, they're always like, you dump your own poop and stuff. It's like, well, it's just like a lever. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like
Yeah,
touching
exactly.
it.
No.
Like, you know.
Not handling anything.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's great. All right. So I am curious about this one. So you're super active empty nesters, and I'm curious how it's been now finding people on the road now that your kids aren't necessarily with you. Like I'm always so grateful because my kids make my friends for me. You know, they run up to their other kids at the playground, and that's just great. So how does that look for you all without having kids with you now? Have you been able to find your people where their kids are grown or they don't have kids, but they're still kind of active, adventuring hard, and kind of making like slightly inappropriate jokes on Instagram and stuff? Like, have you been able to find your people?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
different. You know, I my best friends came from the RV Queens that I was in, and they're young moms. I have a Marco Polo where I Marco Polo these 2 ladies every day. And when we are in places like TTO, we do get to meet people.
Yeah.
But I don't say envy, but I love how easy it is now for families with kids to meet because you have to meet the mom at the playground, right, when you're
Yeah.
there. And I think that it depends on how you travel. And a lot of our friends who I love and admire, they do the same network every year, as meaning like we're going
They're-
to do TTO this time, we're going to do this RV park this time, and they go back. And so we do have great friends that if we do that, we can, but we end up in Utah with our kids, like at the holidays, because we like to be by our
Yeah.
grandkids. But it's a little bit different now because we really enjoy boondocking and we really love just going all over.
Yeah.
And we are 1,000 Trails members. We were the whole time. And I think when you're out of network, like 1,000 Trails, it kind of sounds funny to say in network and out of network, but we're at
Right.
different campgrounds all the time. And it just blows our mind how many people actually don't come out of there. You don't see a lot of people out
Yeah.
walking, and we
Well-
do a lot of riding, so we're going too
Out.
fast to stop.
Yeah.
But I think you do if you consciously make a decision to. Maybe we're just weird. I don't know. I just really
Well,
like being with him. I don't need anybody
But I
else.
also think like we're in Utah
Yeah.
right now, and although today was a decent day,
It's 20 degrees.
it's cold, and so no one's going to be outside of their RV right now. It's just not the season for that. But when you're at 1,000 Trails that is warm in the right times,
Yeah, it's easier.
I love it. I love being out just doing something so someone can say hello on their way by and then they become friends. And I think about, I'm not going to remember her name right now, that we met in Washington that her RV broke down. We had said hello to her just on a walk, and we kept making, just conversation. Through that, there was enough friendship built that, moving day for her, something
We
wasn't
still
working.
text
And so we went over and helped her install a new, hitch piece on her RV and got her back on the road. And still keep in touch to this
Yeah.
day. So it's just fun.
I think if we stayed in network or if we went to the same RV park every winter. So we have a lot of friends we meet and we, hi, how are you? And I'm really good with the hi, how are you? Where are you from? Cute dog. And then I'll go inside and Vern like comes in 8 hours later and he knows their grandkids' names or
Yeah.
whatever. So I think it's also what are you looking for, right? And if you're looking for those deep, deep relationships, which I do, I have great friends, we meet
Yeah.
great friends, but I think it's different when we're trying to see more, so we're not always at the same places anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of friends on Instagram, like we have dear, and I think that's how we met. We met on Instagram. So many good friends that we've never met in person, but we, Vox every day or Marco Polo every day. And so I think those are things that are such great tools for new
Yeah, there's so
RVers.
many ways to meet people
Mhm.
now. And it is interesting. You still have to make an effort and if you want it. And I still think back to this camper we met at Thousand Trails in Orlando.
Mm.
And, going out to the little dock by the lake there, there's a lady that was there
And her
and her
husband.
husband. They were there watching the fireworks that happened at Disney at the end of the evening. And
They'd only been on the road for 4 months.
yeah, just barely. And we started talking to them and they were just really sad and down because they're like, we're just not making any friends. And this is pretty lonely lifestyle. I'm like,
And poor
it's
Vern,
not.
he's like, well, have you gone and said hi to
I know. I was like,
anybody?
you have to go up and start a conversation. You got to say
They're
hi
like,
to
you're the
somebody.
first people that we've talked to. And Vern's like,
Ah,
that's because we walked up.
you're,
Like, you got
you're the
to.
I met today. So, it's like there you also have to make some initiative. It's what you want. Like Katie enjoys talking to some people, but she doesn't want to spend all day making new friends. She wants it to be just us two to go do things. So that's what is important to her. And I love just meeting. I passed a guy the other day and I saw him working on a piece on his truck and I saw he was doing it wrong. But I was like, he's going to spend a long time before he figures out what he's doing wrong. So I just stopped to ask how it was going if he wanted help. He's like, yeah, I've never done this. I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, you look like you're doing great. But if you'll switch this and this and everything's great. We were done in like 30 minutes, but it was awesome. It was such a good guy. It was so good to be able to help,
And I think that's, I guess, what we're both trying to say is like, it's really what you make it. Like, we've never gone to an RV park and been like, man, we didn't meet any friends, or man, no one's nice. It's like, I really think it's what you make. And I think people get really sad when they RV sometimes because you do miss the in person. And I guess that's like what I'm trying to say is, I don't need the in-person. I need the connection. I need really good friends. And I feel like we've met our people. They're online. And when we get to see them, we can.
Yeah.
But there's a lonely side of RV life people talk about. And I agree. But if you're okay being connected, like we're talking right now or on Zoom or whatever it is, the world is just this oyster. There's so many
There's
people.
so many ways.
It's amazing.
And I always say this to people, but moving into an RV, it just puts a magnifying glass on your relationship. Whatever kind of relationship it is, it magnifies it. And
good or bad.
Yeah, if you have a really strong relationship, it's going to magnify it. And if there are problems, jumping in an RV isn't the answer because it's only going to challenge those problems and it's going to be more noticeable. So if you're a lonely person in a house, you're probably going to be a lonely person in an RV unless you change something and get out and go say hi to people.
I will tell you, if your husband eats cereal really loud in a house and it drives you crazy, it's going to drive you crazy 80,000 more times in an RV. I will just be honest right now.
Well, hey, we have a pop-up now and I can go eat in the pop-up outside.
Oh my gosh, that is also relatable, but I think you described it really well. Kind of the balance of socializing and the ways you might need to be more creative, but also the ebb and flow. Like sometimes we'll be somewhere where we'll have a lot of people around and then sometimes it's like too many people. I am introverted, like where I'm like, I gotta have my cocoon time. And then sometimes there's other stretches where you won't see folks for a while. And then that's when technology is wonderful. I think joining Instagram, I think the first couple of years we were on the road and then I was finally like, I feel like it would be a really good way just to connect with other RVers and everything. And I was really glad I did. I feel like that did make a big difference. So yeah, thank you for pointing all that out. That was really good insight. Okay, so I do have a couple would you rather questions for y'all. So would you rather that your RV record your arguments, which it sounds like you have very few. So maybe that one argument you've had in the past few years. And then they're going to broadcast the highlights on your outdoor speakers whenever you pull into a new site. So it's kind of like your new neighbors are there. You guys are pulling in and they get to hear all the behind the scenes. Or those same arguments are just going to play like quietly as background music whenever your friends or your, children, your family are over for a campfire or something and you're just hanging out outside.
I want it broadcast because it'll show that I'm always right. No, I'm just kidding. My neighbors will be like, she's always. No, I'm just. That's not.
Wow.
That's funny, but not
quick. I like that.
He's like, yeah, that's why I don't want it broadcast.
No.
I don't know. What would you rather have?
Family.
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 Your mom.
But see, because it's going to do two things. It's going to keep us real, and it's going to make me be more accountable. So I'm going to be a lot more selective in my words. And I love letting kids, especially our in-laws, how we are,
Real life,
and give them some, give them some tips through it. Here's a way to do it. Here's a way not to do it. Enjoy.
All right. And then maybe TLC will roll up and they'll be like, wait, is this something we want to get back in on? Are these... Yeah, is this the tea we were looking for? All right. So would you rather be boondocking in the middle of nowhere, except there's one bear, like, a few sites over, you could say, that's kind of just like staring creepily at your rig, or same thing, you're boondocking in the middle of nowhere, or there's just one random guy sitting in a lawn chair staring at your rig? Which would you take?
bear.
Really?
Oh yeah.
See,
They've been some creepy people.
I know, but that's the thing. You don't know they're creepy until you talk to them. I think I'd rather see the lonely stranger. I'll go say hi to him. You won't be a stranger long.
Okay.
We have bear spray though.
I'm not going to get the guy with bear spray.
No,
I'm going to say hi.
The guy.
The guy. Okay, we're going with the guy.
Well, I mean, it's
All
like
right.
where were we at Allen's Bar? That was so much fun. We're on this way remote place, and then people just kind of randomly, they're there, and you get to go up, and with the stories that we heard at that place, oh, it was awesome. And then we met the cool lady that went in the river and bathed while we were trying to fish. And I'm like,
We were eating dinner, and I'm like, whoa, you're bathing. We might go inside.
Buck naked. Just
pretty
full-
much.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's hilarious.
A lot of soap and
A lot of soap. Oh my gosh, I love it. It's just like the stuff you see out in this lifestyle is just incredible. And then the people you meet, like those unexpected moments too, where you do meet that kind of, person you wouldn't not have had the opportunity to speak with had you just been sitting inside your house.
Yes.
I love
I
that.
always say that this being on the road has renewed my faith in humanity.
Oh yeah.
Just getting
that.
to see, that was something I really enjoyed, was the opportunity to take our kids to so many different places. And whether it was downtown New Orleans or Mexico, and we spent a lot of time in Mexico and saw very humble living styles, but very happy people. And
Mhm.
there's some life-altering stories that happened for our kids and us in Mexico. And it was just awesome to get out and see people and see that for the most part, people are good, and a little bit of street smarts will get you through the rest. But people are good. Give them a chance. So.
Well, Katie and Vern, I cannot thank you enough for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed getting to know you guys better. You're just the OGs and you're so inspiring. If you are listening and you're not following Nomad Nesters yet, obviously you're going to want to change that. And thank you so much for being here as listeners. It just would mean the world to me if you'd leave a review, reach out on Take the Trip Fam. Let me know what you think of the episodes, if you have any suggestions for guests or questions, and safe travels out there, y'all. Don't unbuckle just yet. I want to share a song with you that I guarantee you've never heard before. And a huge thank you to the sponsors of today's episode, eTrailer and Camp Champ. These companies are true staples in the RV community, and their support gives these incredible travelers another space to share their journeys and inspire others. Be sure to check out Camp Champ's line of tank treatments and cleaning essentials and make eTrailer your go-to for all your RV upgrades. They really do have it all.
You were on some red-eye flight. She was home with one big plan. Pull that old couch to the driveway, wave goodbye, cash in her hand. Kids' pictures in a shoebox, house keys on the kitchen bar. By the time you landed, baby, home was packed inside the car. We're just nomad nesters, chasing sunsets, chasing time. From car seats to quiet back seats, still your hand is holding mine. Didn't play their TV drama, we just wrote our own headline. Yeah, we're making every mile on the love line.
They say, can you cry on cue? We need sparks and we need screams. We said we don't fake our feelings, we just live our wildest dreams.
From campfires and homework to postcards postcards with just our names. Kids are grown, the road keeps going, but the love's still burning flames. We're just nomad nesters, chasing sunsets, chasing time. From car seats to quiet back seats, still your hand is holding mine. Didn't play their TV drama, we just wrote our own headline. Yeah, we're making every mile on the love line. Some days her body's tired, some days the breathing's tough, but she laughs and says, hey darling, I still can't get enough. So we circle big red hearts on every day we get. Turn the page, turn the key, no room for regret. Oh no, we're just nomad nesters, chasing sunsets, chasing time. From car seats to quiet